All right, Ben, we finally have our Final Four. It's a little bit of a weird one. We have a 7 seed and an 8 seed. No one saw this coming. I know my bracket, for one, is decimated. First game, Florida plays Connecticut. Florida hasn't lost in 30 games. The last time they lost was to Connecticut. Shabazz Napier hit a buzzer beater in that game. Can he do it again?
He can, but this wasn't the same Florida team that we'll see on Saturday outside Dallas. It would take a huge effort from Napier again. He is clearly the unquestionable star of this team, and he has some support in Ryan Boatwright and DeAndre Daniels, but it's going to take just a monster game from Napier to get back to the national championship.
The other thing about that UConn win over Michigan State was that Adrian Payne is 7 foot tall, but he didn't really play like a big man. He sort of took all his shots from the outside. I do not think Patrick Young will do that, and I can see him easily eating up UConn in the inside.
That's true, but UConn's defense is great. This is a top 10 defense in the country that seems to be playing its best basketball of the year right now. In fact, Connecticut ended its regular season with a 33-point loss to Louisville less than a month ago, and after that game, Huskies coach Kevin Ollie made his players rewatch clips of a game in which they played ferocious defense to remind them what that looked like. That game was their win over Florida in December. So clearly they've played great defense against the Gators already this season. Whether they can do it again is what's going to be interesting to watch on Saturday.
All right, in the second game, we have Wisconsin playing against Kentucky. Kentucky, of course, is an 8 seed, but they look like a 1 seed. I don't think anyone's considering them an 8 seed at this point. In fact, I think they're probably the favorite to win the title right now.
They might be, the way that they're playing. I mean, to get to the Final Four, they had to beat 3 teams in last year's Final Four. They beat Wichita State. They beat Louisville, which a lot of people think was the best team in the tournament, and then they beat Michigan yesterday. So I don't know how you bet against Kentucky at this point, even though they're an 8, and even though they struggled so much in the regular season. They're finally clicking and looking like the team that was ranked number 1 before the season and everyone thought would be in the Final Four back in November.
It's sort of an interesting Wisconsin team because they're normally known as a team that spreads it around, but it's been a one-man army the last couple of games. Frank Kaminsky, Arizona had no answers for him at all. They just could not defend him. He's a big guy who can shoot from the outside. Can he do the same kind of thing against Kentucky, or do they have too much size with Randall and those guys?
Well, it'll be interesting because Kentucky's not great on defense. The thing about Wisconsin that was amazing the other night is that Arizona has the best defense in the country, and they just carved it up. I mean, Frank Kaminsky, whether he was taking Arizona players down low or bringing them back outside, was almost unstoppable. So whether he can do that against Kentucky, I'm not sure. But Arizona was a much more disciplined defense than Kentucky is. You know, Kentucky's real strength is on the offensive boards. And they might be, you know, Michigan wasn't a great defensive team. Wisconsin also not a great defensive team. If Kentucky continues to shoot the way it is in the NCAA tournament, then they can win the national championship. But they could regress to the mean. This is not a great shooting team that has somehow just found its stroke in the last 3 games.
All right, quickly, I'm going to take Kentucky. I'm also going to take the surprise UConn team. I think it's very similar to what Kemba Walker did a couple of years ago. They go to the final.
So I'll take Florida in the first game, and I'll take Kentucky in the second game, setting up a matchup that we've seen 3 times already this season. Florida has beaten Kentucky all 3 times, but their last game came down to the final possession. I think, you know, there might be a new outcome this time, but it's a matchup that everyone wants to see, Florida versus Kentucky in the national title game.